Okay, we are now live. Hello, everybody. My name is Trisha Hasbrook. I'm the Director of College Advising at St. Joseph's Academy, and I'm a volunteer facilitator for MOACAC. We are at the Show Me My Future College Exploration Program. It's kind of a long name, but it is sponsored by MOACAC and StriveScan, and we're really happy that you're here. Today, we have Blake Songrath from Southwestern University down in Texas, and he's going to give you a lot of insight as far as what his university has to offer and just give you a lot of really great information. We have allowed the Q&A function to stay open, so if you have questions, please feel free to utilize the Q&A function, but we have disabled the chat function for our attendees. So again, this is the Show Me My Future College Program sponsored by MOACAC and StriveScan, and we have Blake Songrath with Southwestern University. All right, take it away.
All right, thank you, Trisha, for the introduction and for having me here today. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the presentation that I've prepared today. And let me see, can you all see my screen correctly? There we go. There. Just a little bit of a lag here. All right, should be starting here soon. So as she mentioned, my name is Blake Songrath. I'm an Assistant Director of Admission at Southwestern University. We're located down in Georgetown, Texas, which is about a 30-minute drive north of Austin. So we're kind of a suburban setting. We are a small liberal arts university with about 1,500 students, all undergraduate. So it's a really good balance for our students, right? They get the small, intimate classroom experience where their professors know who they are. They're part of a caring campus community. But just down the road is Austin, Texas, which is a booming city with lots of opportunity for entertainment and also for job prospects. And Georgetown, I will talk a little bit about because that's where we're located. I'm assuming that since most of you are located in Missouri, that you have not extensively visited Georgetown. So we have a slide here that's going to show you a little bit about what we offer in town. So we actually have the best town square in Texas. So while we are a suburban setting, we have a small town feel, and the town square is located just about a mile from campus. And so our students are easily able to explore that area. The whole town and the university are powered 100% from renewable energy, which we're very proud of. We have a GoGeo transit system that you'll see here that has 2 pickup locations on campus to take our students around the greater Georgetown area. And lastly, you'll see here some green space. So while we are close to the city, what's nice about the Austin area in general is that there is a lot of green space, a lot of opportunity to go out and explore nature with a lot less time or a lot more time in the sunshine than you'd experience up in Missouri. So that's a little bit about Georgetown. As far as Southwestern University, we have a very rich history in Texas. We were the first college in the state, chartered back in 1840, before Texas was even part of the Union. So we've been doing this for a long time. We had 3 of the first 5 Rhodes Scholars to come out of the state of Texas, so we have a very rich academic history as well. We created homecoming back in 1909, and you'll see here the original flyer. We spelled it 2 words, and it was held in April. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. We hold it in the fall now to go around football season because down here in Texas, football is king, and the rest of the nation has followed suit, and most schools hold theirs in the fall as well. So it's a really cool bragging point for us to be able to say that this huge American tradition actually started right here at Southwestern University. And as I mentioned, the campus is 100% renewable energy as well as the city. We are now powered entirely from wind farms in West Texas. And so obviously that's a big issue right now. We're happy to be leading the charge. And as you can see, we've really been leading the charge of higher education in Texas for almost 200 years. And we continue to do that today by designing a curriculum specifically for the 21st century student. So here is a good opportunity to stop and talk about the liberal arts in general. As I mentioned, we are a liberal arts institution, and that is our philosophy. So I want to talk about the liberal arts, and you'll see some of the cornerstones here, such as a flexible curriculum. we want to make sure you're not just taking courses in your major. We want to make sure you're getting outside your comfort zone and you're well versed in a lot of disciplines. Another cornerstone is giving our students multiple perspectives. So what I mean by that is allowing you to talk to people who have different experiences than you. And at a small school like Southwestern with only about 1,500 students, you're not going to be in a lecture hall of 400 to 500 students. Really not going to happen. So the average class size here at Southwestern is about 18 students. So you'll get to know your professors on a first name basis. You'll get to know your classmates on a first name basis. And you'll get to hear their stories as well, you know, where they came from and what kind of experiences they've had. And ultimately, the goals of the liberal arts are to help you develop a certain set of intellectual skills. We want you to have those critical thinking skills. We want you to be able to solve complex problems. We want you to be able to communicate with a diverse group of people. And so that's really behind the liberal arts, and that's behind everything that we do at Southwestern. Now, a question we get a lot is, that sounds good and well, but why would I choose this liberal arts education over some other type of instruction? And while, yes, we believe that the liberal arts is a great way to just educate the population in general, there are some real world applications. So you'll see here a statistic from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And that is that individuals now are projected to have about 12 jobs throughout their career. So you're not just going to be doing the same job for 40 years as in the past. Times are changing and you're going to have more positions throughout your career. A lot of times, especially with Southwestern alumni, we see that they make big changes in their career. They're not just switching from a very similar job to a job that's like the one they've had before. They are completely switching fields and learning new functions. So you can see where having this diverse coursework, having these different experiences is really going to help you as you make those jumps in your career and your personal life. That really starts with our coursework here at Southwestern. And we split the coursework up here into thirds just to help you understand how it works here at SU. The first third is your major, right? So a lot of you have probably started thinking about your major, what you want to study in college. It's going to be where you go the most in depth and ultimately what leads to your job search or your graduate school search. So that's a very important part of the curriculum. What's also very important is what we call general education requirements. So you'll see 7 disciplines here. We have all of our students take at least one course from each of these disciplines to give them a really solid foundation for their education. Now, while you'll see 7 disciplines here, that does not mean that all students will take the same courses in these disciplines. You have the liberty to choose some courses that really align with your personal and professional goals. So let's say you're on the pre-med track. You are a biology major looking to go to med school. For your social justice requirement, you might entertain taking a course about the ethics of the medical field. So it's something that requires or fills that requirement, but also aligns with your personal and professional goals. That last third is what we call electives. What's really cool about electives is that we don't really place any parameters on what these have to be. A lot of times we'll see if a student is interested in a different area and they just want to take a few random classes in that area, they do that in their elective space. We also see if a student wants to double major or add a minor, they can easily do that in their elective space and graduate in 4 years. So it's really just some flexibility in your coursework to experience some different subjects and some different ideas. We also show this just to convey that if you look at this, only a third of your courses are going to be in your major. So you're going to have to get really comfortable learning about other things and taking those other things that you've learned and connecting them with your major. So this is how the curriculum looks at Southwestern. We couple this with what we call high impact learning experiences. Now, high impact learning experiences aren't necessarily things that happen in the classroom, but they tie in well with your coursework. So for example, study abroad is an example of a high impact learning experience. About a third of our students will study abroad. 50% will do community service, either on campus or in the Georgetown community. 100% will do a capstone project, which is a culminating research project within your major, and 2/3 will complete at least one internship for credit. Now, internships are very important for us, not only because we know it's a great way to see if you're on the right career path, it's also a great way to possibly have a job lined up after graduation. And so that's a really important experience for our students. They work closely with the Center for Career and Professional Development here on campus. Um, they are assisted with building resumes, looking for jobs and internships, figuring out how to prepare for an interview, and everything else related to the real world, which is very important. And they do such a phenomenal job that our Center for Career and Professional Development, we call them the CCPD, they've been ranked #1 in Texas and #3 in the nation by the Princeton Review. So they are phenomenal in helping our students figure out, after these 4 years at Southwestern, where do I go? So that is our curriculum. We also, as a small liberal arts campus, have a student life initiative called MOACAC. While we know a lot of learning happens inside of the classroom, there's a lot of growth that happens outside of the classroom as well, especially as a majority of our students do live on campus. So MOACAC is an initiative to help students make meaning of the academic experience and really develop into a whole person. And so this entails things such as making sure that our students know how to get involved on campus, making sure they know how to start clubs and organizations or get involved so quickly they're part of the SU community. It also involves making sure that there are always things going on campus so that when you're done with your classes, you're able to get out and have fun and engage with the greater campus community. And so that's something that we have the capacity to do as a smaller institution, is to really make sure that all of our students are getting the most out of their college experience. And that's something that's pretty unique to Southwestern. All right, so that's a little bit about the experience. Let's talk a little bit about our student profile so you all get an idea of what the typical SU student looks like. So if we're looking at our student body, we see they're about 55% female, 45% male, just under 15% come from outside of Texas, 40% are from historically underrepresented populations in higher education, and 13% are first generation, meaning they're the first in their family to attend college. So as you can see, we have a pretty diverse student body here at Southwestern. As far as academic profile, we do see a majority of our students come from the top quarter of their class, as well as about 35% who come from the top 10% of their class. While this is not a cutoff, this is a pretty good average. I also realize that in Missouri, class rank does not trump GPA. Down here in Texas, class rank is very important. So if your school does not rank in Missouri, that does not affect you on your application process. We will just look at the GPA. As far as test score, we see a middle 50% for the ACT at 1150 to 1310, and then 23 to 29 for the ACT. While we do have a middle 50% listed here, Southwestern is a test optional institution, meaning we don't require the ACT or SAT for admission. If you're happy with your test score, you can definitely submit that and we will use that for your application consideration. If you are not happy with your test score, you have the option of doing a test optional interview. It will be a 30 to 40 minute interview about your academic journey, essentially taking the place of that test score. So you do have some options when it comes to applying for admission at Southwestern. Speaking of applying, there are 4 ways to apply to the university, and they are listed here. We do have our own institutional application at southwestern.edu. We are a member of the Coalition application, Apply Texas, and the Common App. Apply Texas is great if you're looking specifically at schools in Texas. You can fill out that application once, hit submit to all those schools, and it saves you a bunch of time as opposed to having to apply to each separate school. The same is true for the Common application, except that it's nationwide. So over 700 schools in the country use the Common application. Again, a great way to save time through the application process. So the key here is to pick the one that saves you the most time and allows you to enjoy senior year to the fullest extent. We do not prefer any application over the other. There are a few important deadlines I'd like to mention. The first 2, early decision and early action, those are what we call priority deadlines, November 1st and December 1st. Essentially, early decision and early action tells us that Southwestern is one of your top schools. You're very interested in attending, so we're going to prioritize those applications and try to get those students a decision a little bit quicker. However, there is a huge distinction, and that is that early decision is contractually binding, Meaning, if you apply early decision, we're going to ask you to sign a contract that says, if and when I'm accepted to Southwestern, I'll cancel my applications elsewhere, I'll pay my enrollment deposit, and I will be a pirate in the fall. So early decision is really just for those students who know 120%, SU is where I want to be. I want to get through the process as quickly as possible. If you're looking at a few schools and Southwestern is in your top 3, 4, or 5 schools, then early action is a great decision because it's not contractually binding. And then our regular decision deadline is February 1st. So as long as you apply before then, you'll be in good shape. Here you'll see a list of some materials that we're going to request as part of your application process. Here are the requirements. If you have a test score you'd like to submit, you can download the score report yourself and send it as a PDF as opposed to having to pay ACT or the College Board to send it. As I mentioned before, if you choose not to submit your test score and you choose to apply test optional, you will be required to reach out and schedule your test optional interview. You can either call our office, and I will talk about some other ways that you can schedule that a little bit later. We do have some optional materials. We use a holistic admission approach at Southwestern. So we're not just going to look at GPA and test score. We're going to look at everything that you submit. And if we look at everything that you submit, the more information we have, the more comfortable we will feel when we make an admission decision. So if you have anything that you feel can help put your best foot forward, by all means, feel free to attach that to your application. All right, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about cost, which is a very important part of the college search process. I want to run through costs, but I also want to caution you not to stress about this too much. I would definitely focus first on the application process, and then once you're done with the application process, we can start to think about costs. But it is important to talk about. So our total cost at Southwestern for this year with tuition, room and board, and other miscellaneous fees comes to be about $60,000 per year. With that in mind, I would also caution you to take these sticker prices with a grain of salt. You're going to see a lot of different price points in your college search, and each school does financial aid a bit differently. So you're not going to be able to tell which school is your cheapest option until you go through the financial aid process with them. So don't get discouraged at this point. Just go through the financial aid process with any school you're interested in and see what your options are. I want to talk a little bit about the financial aid process at Southwestern, and it starts with the general merit scholarships. So all of our students are eligible for these upon applying to the university. We automatically consider you for these, so there is not a separate application process. How it works is in your SU portal, which I'll talk about later, your admission decision will be posted, and then 3 days later, your SU merit scholarship will be posted. So there is a bit of a delay, but very shortly after your admission decision. You'll see here they range from $0 to $28,000 per year. But you'll also see that 90% of Southwestern students are eligible for $20,000 or above. That means 90% of our students end up automatically cutting that cost from $60,000 to $40,000 just by applying for admission. And so this is just the first step of the process, which significantly cuts down the cost. The second part of the process is what we call competitive merit scholarships. Now, not all students will be eligible for these. As you can see, there are some class rank components. So for the Brown, you have to be in the top 5% of your class. The Dixon and the Gary, you must be in the top 10% of your class. Typically, these had a testing requirement, but we are waiving that this year as we are aware that not a lot of students have been able to take the ACT and SAT in the last 6 months. I would also encourage you to look at the GPA requirements. As I mentioned, Texas is very heavily leaning towards class rank, but in Missouri, if your high school doesn't rank, for these top scholarships, we're going to look at your GPA instead. And then we do have some Seraphim Fine Arts Awards if you're interested in continuing with band, theater, choir, studio art, anything like that. There is a virtual audition process on our website that you can feel free to check out. And the final portion of financial aid is what we call need-based aid. So Southwestern accepts the FAFSA and only the FAFSA. If you're not familiar with the FAFSA, I would definitely do some investigating. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it can be found at fafsa.gov. And it actually opens tomorrow, so you can start it as early as tomorrow. Essentially, the FAFSA is going to tell us if you qualify for any federal or state funding, if you qualify for additional SU grant money, or if you qualify for the federal work-study program. So you have nothing to lose. It is free to fill out, but everything to gain in terms of filling out the FAFSA. And this 98% here shows that with all the financial aid available, only 98% of our students will pay that initial sticker price. So as you can see, there are a lot of moving pieces as part of the financial aid process. It can be kind of overwhelming. If you want to get an idea of what your cost at Southwestern could be right now, we do have an awesome tool on our website called the Net Price Calculator. You'll find the link here on the right. Essentially what the Net Price Calculator does, it's going to ask you for some basic financial information, some basic academic information, and it's going to provide you with a ballpark estimate of what you could be paying at Southwestern. It's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be exact, but it will give you a good enough idea that you can start to budget and think about the plausibility of Southwestern. And we've actually gotten some really great feedback from some parents that it ends up being within about $1,000 of what our students actually pay. So we're very happy to hear that resource is working for our families. I want to touch a little bit on outcomes before I open it up for questions. Obviously, we hope you have a great experience at Southwestern, but we also want you to leave prepared for the real world, whether that's a job or graduate school. So 91% of Southwestern graduates will do so in 4 years, which as you can see is quite a bit larger than the national average. Not only is that the best use of our students' time, it's also the best use of their financial resources. So you can see here the opportunity costs for each additional year you're in college. Not only are you paying those additional costs of attendance, you're also missing out on those wages. So it's very important for us to make sure that our students graduate in 4 years. We love our students. We hope they have an amazing experience here in Georgetown and at Southwestern, but we hope when we see them in year 5, 6, or 7, it's because they're back for homecoming and not because they're still trying to finish a degree. So a 4-year graduation rate is a huge push at Southwestern, and again, is available because of our flexible schedule. And this slide kind of shows what our students are doing when they leave Southwestern. So you'll see 9 in 10 students are either employed or in graduate school within 10 months of graduating from Southwestern. Just over 2/3 will go straight into the workforce in a variety of different fields. About 1/4 will go to graduate or professional school. And you can see the list of graduate and professional schools that our students attend here in the bottom right corner. We put medical school and law school there because those are 2 of our most popular pre-professional programs. However, we send students to graduate programs of all types, economics, business, philosophy, psychology, fine arts, you name it, we have a student in that program. This is also where I really like to point out the viability of Austin. Austin is a great city if you're looking to get into the healthcare field, if you're looking to get into the tech industry. We've been called the Silicon Valley of the South. Also a great opportunity to get invested in any startups. So lots of opportunities here, not just in Georgetown, but the greater Austin area as well. And this is also where I'd like to reiterate the help that our Center for Career and Professional Development does with these statistics and helping our students figure out what's next. So again, we have to thank them so much for all the help they provide our students. All right, so that is a lot of information to remember and retain. So these are the 4 bullet points that I think are the main takeaways from the presentation. I wanted to wrap it into a nice little bow for y'all. So the first one is world-class academics. And I talked about our unique curriculum, which we call Paideia, and the small class sizes, opportunities to connect with professors. Everything that we do at Southwestern is student-centric. Every change that we make is meant to enhance the student experience. And because of that, we've been ranked the #1 liberal arts university in Texas and one of the 40 colleges that changes lives. I talked about our high-impact learning experiences. If you remember, those were things such as study abroad, student faculty research, internships, capstones, etc. The big takeaway there is just knowing if you attend a university like Southwestern, You are going to be worked very hard in the classroom. You're going to put in a lot of effort there, but we also invest a lot in what you're doing outside the classroom, which I think is very unique. The third bullet, I talked about our CCPD, our Center for Career and Professional Development. If you remember, they're #1 in the state of Texas and #3 in the nation. The big takeaway there is just, if you're not already asking that question when you do these information sessions or go on college visits, I would really start asking that. Yes, it's important to have a school with the correct academic program. Yes, it's important to have a school that feels like home where you can live comfortably for the next 4 years. But it's also very important to start asking, are there people here that are going to help me figure out when my 4 years here are done, what's my next move? And at Southwestern, as I mentioned, we have some pretty stellar individuals to help with that. And the final one is 21st century skills for a lifetime. So I think one thing that's pretty typical of Southwestern students is they're very passionate. You know, they don't like to get done with class and just go sit in their dorm room. They get out, they get involved, they mingle with their peers on campus, they get out in the community and they get to know people. And so passionate is a great word to describe our students. And we want to help them cultivate that passion. We don't want them to see Southwestern as the end of their academic journey. We want to help them cultivate that passion and run with it. And so we hope to develop 21st century skills for a lifetime here at Southwestern. So that in a nutshell is Southwestern University and the experience that you can expect to have here. I would also like to point out, I know we are not just down the road, but if you can find some time to come visit campus, we are expecting to be open for campus visits for the foreseeable future. We have daily visits at 9, 12, and 3. We also have some pirate previews coming up. We have a virtual one in November, and fingers crossed that we can have our in-person pirate preview in December. We also have Saturday visits as well if you can't make it during the week. So there are a plethora of options to visit campus, either in person or virtually. I would definitely recommend doing this at every school that you're considering, just to get a feel of how you would fare on campus and if it's a place you can call home for the next 4 years. And I would like to end this presentation just by leaving you all with my contact information. As Tricia mentioned, my name is Blake Songroth. I'm an assistant director of admission at Southwestern. I work with all students in the St. Louis area, as well as most of the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest myself, Illinois, born and raised. So if you have any questions about what it's like to make that jump from the Midwest down to Texas, feel free to shoot me an email, as well as any questions about the university or anything you heard in this presentation today. I also have the phone number here for our admission and financial aid office. I have an email here for the financial aid office as well. And then if you all watching could do me a huge favor and go to this link down here at admission.southwestern.edu/register/about-me. It'll take you less than 2 minutes and it'll give us some information so we can start to send you materials about your interested major, our visit days, scholarship opportunities, etc. So if you would like more information about Southwestern, I would recommend filling out that form or shooting me an email. And with that, I will wrap up my presentation. Thank you all for tuning in this afternoon and learning a little bit more about Southwestern University and all the great things going on here on our campus and in Georgetown, Texas. So I will now open up the floor for questions, and I will leave my contact information up here as well. So if anyone still needs that, we can definitely do that as well. All right, so let me go to some questions here. The question I have here is, can you join the military while attending Southwestern? We have some ex-military members, we also do have a joint ROTC program with the University of Texas at Austin. So if you'd like to join the ROTC program, while you're here, you can definitely do that as a student. As far as being active duty in the military while attending Southwestern, you can definitely do that, but if you do get deployed, obviously you would have to withdraw and then re-enroll. It would be pretty hard to be active duty and be deployed while still attending. But as far as ex-military, definitely, and then we have an ROTC program here on campus. So great question. All right, I'll leave a few more minutes for questions and then we'll wrap up the presentation. Trisha, I think you might be muted.
All right, I think I'm back with you. Thank you so much, Blake. I really appreciate your presentation. And although you're from the Midwest, I'm from Texas, from the Austin, Georgetown area, and it really is a beautiful campus and a beautiful spot. And it has the most adorable town square. So I concur.
True.
So for those of you who have been participating, thank you so much for being here. There is a quick survey after you close this window. It really is quick. It's only 4 questions. And don't forget to sign up for more sessions on the MOACAC.org website. And remember, you were off screen. So this presentation was recorded and you can see the recording if you want to revisit any of the information again at MOACAC.org. So thank you so much for being here and feel free to sign up for more. Thanks, Blake.
Thank you, Trisha. I appreciate it.